that region is in my downline because of one person.
Oh, wow.
She talked to somebody, and actually Michael and I were at the first appointment, this guy. She goes, well, there's this, I said, who do you know? And she goes, well, there's this guy that I do business with that's in a town in New Jersey. They do business by towns, right? Not like Pennsylvania where it's just suburban sprawl. And she said, when I have a buyer for up there, I send it to him, and when he has a buyer for down here where she was in Short Hills, he sends it to me. He worked for an independent company. We went and talked. There were like 30 agents in the company, and the rest of it was owned by a family. He didn't think there was a real future. His name is Al Donahue. So he opened up a market center in Ridgewood. And that was pretty successful. And then he opened a second one, and a third one, and a fourth one. And he just opened his sixth. He's got 1,000 agents working with him. That is somebody I wouldn't have known, because we're going to take anybody that you know and take that group of people that you know, and we're going to take the group of people that they know, that's a totally different group of people, and a group of people that they know. So now you're 2 or 3 people removed. You have no idea who's going to hear this information. But if you are steadfast and are thinking about profit share, and my challenge to you would be, you know, we all got to sell real estate to make a living, but to take 5, does anybody here do anything to generate leads? To build their business?
Sure.
Do you farm? Do you make phone calls? Do you have open houses? Do you have people that call up on your listings? And all of these things are ways to proliferate real estate. You have no idea who that person's going to be. There was somebody else, Michael and I were at a Keller Williams training. One of the reasons to go to training is to learn how to sell real estate, but there was a woman standing next to it at a break. How you doing? Great. She goes, her name's Stephanie. She goes, I love Keller Williams and I love the training, but I moved into Center City and there isn't an office, so I joined Antonio Adican's team at Prudential. I go, wow, how's that going? Great. She goes, we start talking. She says, do you think Antonio would be interested in Keller Williams? She goes, I don't know, I'll ask him. Called him up, we were able to have lunch with him. 9 months later, he ended up opening an office.
How big of a team did Antonio have?
He had a pretty good size. I mean, he was doing he was doing like 250 deals. He probably had 8 or 10 people on his team, but he wasn't interested in, and you know, that's what he was interested in doing, but we had lunch and he gave him the book and he goes, read the book over the weekend, he goes, that's me. That is really unbelievable that somebody actually wrote this stuff down about how to build a real estate business. And that's all that Gary Keller did, by the way, was he studied successful agents and then tried to glean from them the information about how to be successful, because he knew there was a way to do it, but nobody had ever defined it. I mean, I think that is still the definitive book.
Yeah.
And more than 100,000 people have read it about how to be a successful agent. So what we did is we protected this woman, Stephanie, and she ended up sponsoring Antonio. It was really his wife, then Antonio. And now there's 75 agents in that office that are in my downline because of that one interaction. And it was completely random, because it is the power of Keller Williams that you get to sell, not how good you are. You know, I'm an agent like everybody else. But what's come of it is so significant that this is such a powerful tool, but it is not the reason. Why do people join Keller Williams, do you think, mostly?
Training.
Training. That is the reason. And by tapping into that, you have no idea where that's going to go. But what you need to do is just take 5% of that and focus. It's like take an hour a week and think about who do you know that would benefit from what we've got. And then what you need to do is to figure out how to get them. Now, the biggest, I'll share with you
right there, Gary.
Good.
When you came in earlier today, I introduced you to an agent. What were we doing?
You were talking about other agents.
Yep.
In order to join Keller Williams.
I was help coaching an agent to
Right.
talk about the opportunity.
So the biggest mistake I made is I thought that I could do it better than the team leader could. So I should talk to the people myself. That's a mistake. If you ask me the biggest mistake I made as an agent, and I realized that it took me a long time to learn this lesson, was that I would not allow myself to be coached because I knew how to do it better. And I was completely wrong. And when I finally got a coach, which I didn't do until I started with a coach last May, my life is completely different today because of that. I was afraid that the coach was going to try to tell me that what I should do is call expireds, and I was convinced I didn't have to do that, and I never did. I mean, I've listed expireds, but I never actually actively pursued that. But I was so intent on not doing that that I sort of made my situation more difficult. So if I could give anybody advice, let's get a coach. Now, that doesn't mean you need to get a MAPS coach. Dan is a coach to a lot of people. That's what he does, is he's a coach. And the only thing you need to do is to actually figure out, how do I get somebody that I looked at an agent out there and I said, well, they're a pretty good person. I could work with them. My partner Michael taught me, you wouldn't bring them home to dinner? I said, you don't want them in your office.
I like that.
So it doesn't matter how much real estate they sell. It doesn't matter if they're brand new, because every one of us was brand new. I had the opportunity to show somebody a house, and he goes, let's write it up. And all of a sudden, I go into like a cold sweat. What do you do? I don't know how to do that. But, you know, you're able to sort of bumble along with that. But the fact that somebody you know could know somebody who knows somebody, somebody got Matt Fedek, another individual who was a police officer. I spoke to him last night. Somebody got him into real estate, and he was really successful. Now, he and another guy in Keller Williams went, and they own the region of Great Britain. And they're gonna open 20 market centers. I think the guy that sponsored him was really excited. And actually, when I looked up whose downline he was in, I sort of came across that the other night. There's a guy in Doylestown who for a short time was a team leader in Bluebell. His name's Todd Pollenchuk. He is actually running for state, to become a state representative now.
Wow.
But somebody he sponsored somebody who sponsored Matt. So now in that downline, now all of a sudden there's gonna be 20 market centers in England, and they're gonna make a profit, and other people are gonna benefit. And that is the thing that ties us all together at Keller Williams. So I don't know that there's anybody in this office, it's kind of funny. If you took the top 100 agents in Keller Williams, this is like a stunning, this is the most unbelievable group of agents that anybody's ever met. People like Ben Kinney, and I go, how many of them do you think are among the top? If you took the top 100 agents and you took the top 100 profit share people, how many people do you think would be on both lists?
100.
And the actual answer is 1.
Really?
So if you are a killer top producer,
Wow.
you're probably not going to be able to do this profit share thing. The profit share is for the rest of us, who are just like regular people who sell real estate. And it's really funny and when I thought about it, I think the reason is because the people who are selling, hundreds of houses a year are so focused on what they're doing that they're not really out there sharing things with other people. Now, it's not a negative, because I love these people and I admire them, but I go, geez, I felt like I wasn't really like that. And so it's really funny when you realize that there's an opportunity bigger than most people realize.
Gary, I wrote a couple notes here. When you were asking the agents around the room, one agent said, our Zoom said to you, that it's a feeling that you get, feeling that I got, right? And you said that feeling is the secret to profit share. As it relates to the agents, right? And you also said drop the word recruiting.
Right.
So let's talk about. Can you talk about recruiting and dropping the word recruiting? Why did you say that?
Well, I want to replace the word recruiting with attraction. And that's why I wanted you to think about what attracted you to Keller Williams, because that thing that attracted you to Keller Williams, if you can figure out how to communicate that to another agent, that's going to be the reason that they'll sit down and talk to Dan. I thought that people thought the way that I did, and that was my biggest mistake, because they do not. And my partner said that to me once. He goes, you think other people think that way? He goes, you're wrong. You need to get in touch what they think about, and find the thing that we have in Keller Williams that would almost just make them look at it. And maybe for them it's education, maybe it's the cap system. I used to think, well, geez, I want to run a team, I don't want to be on a team. And there, for a lot of people, being on a team is absolutely the right place to be, because when all of us get into that zone that is the right one for us, we do better. And when you try to force yourself out of it, it's hard. I was not being coached because I was sure that I just was not going to be closing my door every day and calling expires for 2 hours. Now, it's not that I don't mind rejection, because, rejection is part of the process, and when you get a hold of, when you come in touch with that, you're going, great, no, 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 no. That means I'm really close to a yes, so I'm only got to call 2 more people.
So Gary, let me jump in here real quick. It sounds like you're telling the audience they should drop the word recruiting and really start building relationships with agents.
Right. That is the way, when you can communicate the feeling that you had, that people here actually care about what happens to you, that it's the right place to work. That is the feeling that I always got in my office. I could always ask somebody a question. I got to work with people who were having the same struggles that I did, and we sort of succeeded together. I think things are better here than they were 5 years ago. Is that the case?
Oh yeah, we were, we probably weren't even on the board 5 years ago, and now we're #1 in the marketplace.
5 years ago, we were dying, and we
Right.
resurrected
And
the
wait a minute,
company.
and now all of a sudden somebody's going like, well, how did you go from dying to being the biggest real estate company in the world? Something had to happen that made that right. And now you combine that with the fact that Gary Keller is excited only because now he has more resources, because there's only one thing that he wants to do. So I got a coach. And one of the things that I learned in the Keller Williams seminar is, I said, the day that you have $1 more in passive income than you need to live the lifestyle that you choose, you're wealthy. And that's different for everybody. Nobody's going to judge how much money you should have, how you should live. I did learn early on from somebody that if you learn to live on 70% of your income, you will become wealthy eventually. So that's kind of an important thing, to not live past your means. But, so my coach said to me, well, I kind of like Gary Keller's. His was that you have enough money to fulfill your purpose. And then I started to panic because I knew what his next question was. What's your purpose? So we worked on that for a while. And
Big
what
why?
a big why. So what I came up with is that my purpose is to help others see the world from a new perspective, such that hidden facets of their potential are revealed and hopefully realized. So then the discussion, this is not something that you realize in one day, but then I realized, okay, so later on he goes, okay, so you're out there doing things, and is that fulfilling your purpose? And if it's not, and I actually got this because he personally had a great opportunity that he ended up walking away from because it didn't fulfill his purpose. Part of it is he wants to live a certain lifestyle. They homeschool their kids. I want to be home at lunch because I want to have lunch with my kids every day. So he goes, I got into a discussion at an office because he had been in the team leader role, and he goes, and I'm helping some agent by having a discussion with some irate, client. And he goes, I got off that call, and he said I didn't feel good. And he says, I got off the call and I was talking to me, and he goes, I feel good at the end of the conversation, so I want to be doing more of that. So now I'm going, if I'm not doing something to fulfill my purpose, so my purpose is, if I didn't help somebody do that if I did that during the day, I'm having a good day, and if I didn't, I'm not having a good day. That's part of the reason I got in the car to come here, because this doesn't really promote my career, but it helped Dan, and I really like Dan, and I admire him, so it was pretty hard to say no when he says, would you come talk to people about profit share? So I think about every discussion now, am I fulfilling my purpose by helping that person find something in them that's going to help them? Doesn't mean it has to be profit share. It's just that I think that that's a pretty good vehicle for people. Moanne just said it's kind of your scorecard on how good you're sharing our culture.
Yeah.
So it's kind of it feels like in some way a higher purpose, but I think this is a better way for people to do business. I'd rather do business with people that I respect and to not have everybody judged on how many dollars you made, but what kind of contribution you made. And do you feel better when that happens? Keller Williams Cares is a pretty awesome charity. I'm happy. I like being in an office where they raise money to help people. and that people benefit, and maybe that is kind of, my partner would say, you're a little naive.
Yeah.
Meaning that people, you know, there are good people and bad people, but I think there's not that many bad people, they just move around real quick. Now Dan, now here's a guy who got into something, I admire him because I go, in a former life, Dan was undercover. I'm going, you better not
He's
screw
still
that.
under, he's still undercover.
You better, maybe he is, but I'm telling you.
He does that why he's so good at it.
What happens when you screw that script up?
Right.
It's really, so you gotta have your scripts down before you do that, and I go, in some ways, does this seem easier?
Oh, relationship building? Yes, absolutely.
But I mean, you had to build relationships when you were doing that.
And really, working undercover was building relationships. It was getting people to know you, like you, trust you, which.
Right, I mean, John to me laughed one time, he says, oh, I know how to get people to like and trust me.
Yeah, yeah, we did it, because our life depended on it, right?
Right, that's what I mean, so you can't screw that script up, this must seem easy.
So a couple things, Gary, and I was writing notes down. So you talked about, and there's some agents here that literally just started their career. You said that profit share is going to grow over the next, the next few years. And Gary Keller actually said that in last year, whoever's in math was figure this out. December of 2017. This company profit shared $1 billion, $1 billion from the inception of '84. So how many years is that? 17 from 1984 to 2017.
33 years.
33 years, right? So Gary Keller says that the next $1 billion of profit share is going to occur within 5 years.
Wow. And that is absolutely, one thing you can count on is that Gary Keller counts really well. And he may understand the market better than anybody in the world. I think that he is truly, that's why he is the most influential person.
He's truly gifted.
That is what his gift is.
Yeah. So these agents, right, Gary, still have that opportunity, because what we've done in 33 years now is going to happen within 5.
Fast.
Right.
Right, and that's why I say the person who's gonna make the most amount of money hasn't gotten in yet. The best agent probably hasn't gotten into the industry yet.
Yep.
I think one of the places to look for talent is not just among the real estate pool, and my coach left when I said this to him. I go, there's a lot of other leaders out there that are in different industries, and I think it's easier to teach somebody real estate than it is to teach somebody leadership.
Absolutely.
So what you need to do is identify that leader and then put him together with something in real estate when the timing is right, and that could be the next superstar. That person may be a lawyer, a teacher. I mean, who's Sky Michaels?
Yeah.
Teacher. His team is called Real Estate with Heart. Isn't that a weird thing to do to make?
He's got a heart in his logo, right?
Right, he's got a heart in his logo, and I think most of the people on his team seem to be single moms. And he's going to do $100 million.
Yeah. So Gary, talk a little bit about, relationship building and scripting. These agents are doing business with existing
I don't think of
agents,
this
right?
as a script at all.
Okay.
I think that the scripting isn't what works. What works is having a real discussion with somebody and sort of identifying something that is in Keller Williams that would benefit them. And I don't know if that is team building, that could be certain kinds of classes, that could be the giving back to the community, things that happen in the office. People do things for their own, that's a good lesson to learn. People do things for their reasons, not my reasons. Nobody does things because I want them to. But when you can identify something in somebody else that would benefit them that Keller Williams has, then they're going to see it through a different light, different eyes, and that's what's going to make the difference. That's why he's better at having that conversation, because that's what he's worked on over the years, is how to have that conversation. What we're trying to do is to sell houses, and we got to be good at those conversations first in order to be able to relate to other agents. And the other thing I did, this is a big secret too, that golden rule thing, that works really well, is if you treat people the way you wanted to be treated, then other people are going, and I believe that opportunities have come my way for that single reason, is because I'm not trying to get over on somebody, I'm really trying to find the benefit in the situation. And when there's a win-win, isn't that the number one thing in our Y4C2Ts? win-win or no deal. So when it's truly a win-win, then it works for everybody. I don't think we're not good or bad because of the company we work for. We're good or bad because of the people that we are. Those companies, I mean, I think the managers go around thinking that that's all real important. Agents, we do business with other agents, you know, you get along with them, and you got a rep, everybody's got a rep in the real estate community, or you're about to get one. And that's gonna depend on how you treat people. So not only do you need to treat your clients with respect, you need to treat the other agents with respect. And if you do that, you're gonna be in a better position to have a conversation with them. Because they thought we were Keller who, but now they're trying to figure out how do you get from there, how do you get from there to over there? How'd that happen?
So, if you wouldn't mind, Gary, we're open up to a Q&A thing?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Gary, thank you very much. Question, you had said it's important to help people that are in your downline to grow their tree. I've got a few people in my downline. Can you give some strategies or some specific
Well,
ways of doing
it's
that?
sort of figuring out who they are and who do they know, because sometimes it's easier to help them do that than for you to do it. I've got to go out and figure out people to sponsor, and if that's all it was, all the real wealth is on the 6th and 7th level. Partly because there's so many of them now. So that's the part you really want to get to, and you need to do that by helping somebody else figure out who do they know who might benefit from this.
But I lost you. What do you mean? Isn't my goal to get 15 in my first line?
Right. Oh, it is, and that would be a great way to make a living.
Right.
But the even better way would be to have, I mean, I'll tell you how. Because it does expand.
Having them all well, my second line is beautiful. It's my first line that's like,
Oh, well, if the second line's beautiful, the first line doesn't matter.
my
I mean,
second line
I
has,
sponsored
it's
Michael
ridiculous.
Beard, he's an OP, he doesn't sell real estate, I never made $1 on him. But that is probably where 35% of my income comes from. I can actually track 60% of that income comes from one person.
Wow.
Wow.
But not from that one person, it comes, I mean, she does cap every year, she caps in June. I mean, she does $150 million, so it's like every June, you can count on that. But the rest of the year, the most of the income comes from the result of the people who are 5 and 6 and 7 levels below her.
So I think what Gary's saying is when you have, like Matt wants to develop the people under him so that they develop,
Correct.
it's investing in those people, right? So spending time with them, having conversations, what's important to them, maybe coaching with them.
Most of my people in my second line are on teams, the majority.
Or on a team.
Yep.
That has nothing to do with it.
Oh.
It's not how much money you get from them, it's who do they know.
Who do I
Correct.
know to bring on?
And then who do those people know? And that's the one that's gonna make the difference. Oh yeah, I just wanted to see literally how many people. So if I have, I mean, my wife only ever sponsored one person, that was me. Now, she's retired. My wife's retired. I mean, we had a granddaughter who was diagnosed with leukemia when she was 2. You know, that was a horrible thing, that was maybe the worst month of my life. But she's now 5 years cancer-free and everything's great. But when that happened, my wife stopped, that became more important than real estate, and they live in Boston. She started going there a week a month, and over time, that sort of gets you out of the game. So she stopped working like 5 years ago in real estate. But last year, she made $189,000 in profit share, collect Social Security. I'm going, well, that's great, it doesn't work, but she made $250,000.
Wow.
So I have one person who, I have 20 people, and 47 on the second level, and 119 on the third, and 272 on the fourth, and 322 on the fifth, and 490 on the sixth, and only 402 on the seventh.
What do you have in your first?
20.
Wow.
How many do you personally know in
I'm
that tree,
impressed.
in your profit share tree?
Hundreds.
Hitting myself right now.
Wow.
I mean, I'm going to do one other thing this month. Outside this, I'm going, Sky said, would you come downtown? Pain in the ass to come downtown at 5 o'clock one night when I live, 30 miles away. But he goes, I'm inviting everybody in my downline, which is mostly in Center City and Philly South, to a mastermind. And I'm going, would you come? And I go, of course.
Sure.
Right, helps me, helps him. But I only have, so I have more on my,
What happened to the fifth?
I have more on my 6th than my 7th, so I'm not fully developed yet. So that's, and
Well, I
there are
thought you
market
had
centers, and I can tell you, there are market centers in North Jersey where somebody on your 7th level can be worth $1,000 a year. You know, because the percentage goes down and up, I don't wanna get people
Right.
for
I
percentages.
understand.
But, so the 7th level is, and it actually tells you that, on that month, I made $12,000, 10,000 was on the 6th and 7th level. That's where all the money is. Because it's just so many people. You know, Gary Keller sponsored 5 people and the whole thing grew out of that. So that's our opportunity, and that opportunity is sort of the opposite of real estate sales opportunity.
I actually like one thing you said. Well, for me, I had a bad.
Just one, just one.
No. I
I really
like.
like it.
There's just one thing that clicked. I've been to
Yeah.
1,000 of these. I've heard a lot of people. I enjoyed everything you said, but there was one thing you said that clicked for me. Because I've had this limited belief. I had a bad situation that occurred once. That left a very bad taste in my mouth. I was supposed to get somebody that was in my downline, that's a capper. They have now brought other cappers. I'm still angry about it. I'm still working that out.
Okay, that they were somebody else's downline.
But it's okay. I'm working that out. Me and God are working that out.
Oh, that has happened to me.
But it left me a limiting belief because I grew up here, I live here, we all live here, we all go to the same church, we all know the same people. I am not throwing up Keller Williams on people, we're all hitting the same people. But there was one thing you said, start looking outside of the realtors. The light bulb just went off. Like, hello, instead of me looking at the realtors at Prudential Fox and Roach who I've done business with 16 years, or the RE/MAX, why wouldn't I start approaching people? I meet leaders in other businesses. I have so many contacts, it's ridiculous. But it wasn't until you said it that it went,
Now, the turbocharger is leaders.
leaders.
So, I mean, you get an agent and that agent gets other people and that all works out great. But the thing that will really supercharge it, and when we were first looking at Keller Williams, so we were in Mike Campo's dining room, there wasn't an office yet, and Rich McCarthy, Mike's dad, was there, and he had made $20,000 in profit share. Holy mackerel, how did you do that? He goes, oh, I have 18 leaders and 8 OPs in my downline. So that just sort of stuck in the back of my mind. But then I met Michael Beer, and okay, now I've got an OP, and then that got Antonio, who's an OP, and that got Noah, who's an OP, and I got Sue Adler, who sponsored 2 OPs, and then got other OPs, and in that there are team leaders. So a team, how many people you have on your first one?
Probably 7, 8.
I'm surprised it's not more doing what you did.
You know, I don't even count, quite honestly.
You have a lot.
Yeah,
I'll tell you.
I mean, Tim, who's been a team leader for like 7 or 8 years, Tim Beverland, who's now the team leader that we have in Doylestown, he's got like 70 people on his first line.
Wow.
Now, a lot of those aren't leaders, but eventually they will be, but because of what you do every day, you'll have people that'll end up naming you, even though you probably tried to not do that.
Yeah, I've actually had agents forcibly change their sponsor from me to another agent. Actually, Matt Howland was one.
An example.
Yeah.
So in the end,
I don't
you're right, in
understand
the
what
end,
does
that
that
hurts when somebody becomes,
Well,
you know, but that's the problem today is
No, what he
100
just
people
said,
told
he
people
just
that.
did the right thing.
What does
That's
that mean?
on, that's on.
so what happened was,
That's
Emily
why it's
Marquez,
successful.
Matt made the call to Emily, right?
Yeah.
Emily was adamant about putting me on the spot. In fact, she did.
Yes.
And we actually fought about it. And I said, no, you need to change it. She didn't change it. I actually physically changed it.
Why would she care?
Because
She
it
thought
matters.
that I was going to have a similar or different investment in her if she named me as a sponsor. And I said, well, that's not the spirit of the system. The
Right.
spirit of the system is the person who brought you to me is the one that is named as a sponsor. That's Matt Howland who made the call. So we fought about that for a little while, literally. And she was arguing with me, and I said, you're wrong, and you're gonna change the sponsor, and that's how it went. She changed the sponsor.
Because a team leader,